What's happening, everybody? All right, so bringing back the old school format for a My Thoughts video. And in this case, we're going to be talking about that Demon 170. So what are my thoughts on the car itself? Impressed by it, to say the least, but how could you not be? Well over 1,000 horsepower with the right technology with that E85 fuel system, and it's a sensed fuel system at that, which will allow you to run pump E85 to achieve that 1,000+ horsepower, and you can get that fuel anywhere E85 is available. That's fantastic. And the other side to this is that we're looking at a car now with actual beefed up internals. You've got ARP head studs or bolts, or at least it's ARP hardware, a better rear end, better axles, better drive shaft, everything this car is going to need to get down that drag strip over and over again without any hiccups and without any real drama. That is something that has been a trademark for these Hellcat variants really from the very beginning, and it's great to see that Dodge is taking it to its absolute utmost limit with the Demon 170. So all of that, absolutely amazing. But here's the catch. It's not just the car that we have to talk about with everything that it has to offer, with the hopes that the technology does waterfall into the older platformed cars to where we can also take advantage of the E85 and everything else. Okay, now we're just talking about the technology about the car now, and to be honest with you guys, there's not a lot else about the car that I'm absolutely impressed by. I mean, granted, yeah, the aftermarket can do anything with enough money and enough time and enough enthusiasm. I mean, that's what we have been doing for the brand now for so long, but it's not just the enthusiast for the brand, but it's the yardstick. It's the unit of measure that folks have learned that if their car is faster than a Hellcat, then it actually means something. And then moving that into the Demon. Can that car beat a Demon? Again, it's that brand image that I'm really thinking about here. So because of that brand image, I'm left to think now more about the type of person that's actually going to buy the car. I mean, again, it's easy to think about the car as being this great thing, but what bothers me the most about the Demon 170 is the fact that, well, Dodge is allowing dealers to charge extraordinarily high add tax for this car. I've heard of $100,000 being more or less the middle of the bell curve when it comes to these add tax. In other words, it's like the average. But I've even heard of $150,000 and even $200,000 over sticker for this car. It's absolutely insane. And to think that there are folks that will pay that just blows my mind. But there are. And I really want to talk a little bit more to how I feel about that certain class. There are, well, let's start out with the journos, right? The journalists that are going to get their hands on this car. Obviously, they don't have to pay anything for it, but in testing, I'm promising you, and in looking out for the brand here, they're going to slaughter this thing. They're going to put it up against every other contraption out there. Is it really faster than a Plaid? That's basically a story that writes itself. They're going to put it on an unprepared track, and that Demon 170 is going to become a laughing stock more than it is a flag bearer for the last of these internal combustion supercars that we've been getting kind of used to Dodge putting out there with the original release of cars like the one standing behind me, that 2015 Hellcat, setting the standard. Well, that standard keeps going up and up and up. And what I'm afraid of, though, is that the car's not going to get shown in really the right light that it needs to be, which is on a drag strip. This is a drag strip car. It comes from the factory with Mickey Thompson ET Street Rs. And for the uninitiated, it's a street legal slick. You almost can't even consider it a drag radial, at least not by the normal parlance of what most experienced drag racers look for. And that is another thing that I wanted to get into. Take the journalist out of this. There's always going to be that journalist really weird cringe that you're going to get when it comes to comparing anything else to a car of the caliber that the Demon 170 represents. But there's also the other end of the spectrum, the YouTube hacks that are going to end up getting their hands on these things. Don't need to mention any names, but you guys already can think of a few folks that you know are going to get their hands on one of these things and just for lack of a better way of putting it, disrespect it. And and I use the word disrespect because these are the guys that have the means to basically throw away $100,000 on top of roughly $10,000 car once you spec it for what you're really going to spec to see on the streets. Because you'll click on the video and that's how they basically recoup those funds. Well, the thing is that those are going to be the guys that spend the money, that drive the cost up, that basically ruin some of these cars for your watching entertainment, all the while leaving real racers out. Real racers, real actual grassroots guys. Let's start naming them off. You've got Scavenger 1320. That guy has been the flag bearer for the NA crowd for forever. For him to not get one of these Demon 170s, and by the way, if anybody could actually run the outlandish 890 that Dodge is claiming on this car, it would be that dude. What about Speedy's Garage? Hopefully he could get his hands on one. He's an active racer right now that's got a lot of background in hands-on, deep dive, working on this stuff yourself, tuning the thing yourself type of an involvement. If he doesn't get his hands on one, I would consider that to be a crime. You've got every other actual drag racer that has set some form of a national record. You've got my boy Jim Mopar up in Canada, who's set, and then reset the 93 octane Hellcat record. You've got guys like Racer X, who have been racing and flying that Mopar flag for so very long. And so many other guys that have been out there that have been collecting and setting records with Dodges, only to be put in a position where they cannot get their hands on one of these. And then your boy included with that. How long have I been talking into this same screen about Dodge, Mopar Chat Live, giving all of this great advice, if you will, but also bringing you guys to the drag strip with what seems like an endless supply of ride-along drag strip videos, setting national records, and bringing you guys along in the process. It's the grassroots racer, the record setters that won't be able to get their hands on these. And maybe in a 1 or a 2 lucky off shot that somebody does get their hands on one of these, those are the guys that you need to support. If you really like this car a lot, if one of the guys that I've mentioned or your favorite YouTube racer gets their hands on one of these things, support that channel because it's real important that we see what this car can actually do in the hands of a true enthusiast. So, those are my thoughts on not only the car, but the folks that are going to be involved with it. Post up your comments. Let me know who you think would be a great fit for that particular car. And with that, that is a wrap. Y'all have a great one. Adios.